Good evening. Sydney's lockdown, like its residents, isn't going anywhere. It will last at least another 2 weeks, including homeschooling, and there are no guarantees beyond that. The numbers have risen again, just under 100 cases today, with 31 infectious in the community. And that is why the lockdown isn't ending, with large swathes of our city labelled as areas of concern. The biggest problem for authorities is still our southwest, with 70 new cases there. And the situation in Fairfield has been a debacle, with tough new rules and not enough extra testing, leaving locals stuck in testing queues for hours and kilometres. Now, this is the Fairfield 24-hour testing site right now. And as you can see, the queues are still very long. Lachlan Kennedy begins tonight's coverage.
It wasn't unexpected, but that doesn't make it any easier.
Always hurts to say this, but we need to extend the lockdown at least a further 2 weeks.
A 3-week lockdown, now a 5-week lockdown. Restrictions and home learning for students to remain until 11:59 p.m. on Friday, July 30th.
This is a hard lockdown, and I can't stress this enough that everyone needs to take it seriously as a hard lockdown.
Asked whether it should have started earlier.
Our decisions are always based on the health advice. I have as many people telling us we went too early as I do as many people telling us we went too late. That commentary will go on, and I expect that to go on.
To 8 p.m, there were 97 new COVID cases. 31 were not fully isolated while infectious.
Please do not leave your home unless it is absolutely essential.
For the first time this outbreak, there are 2 new cases on the northern beaches, while the cluster at a Bondi Junction unit block has grown to 11. 71 people are now in hospital, 6 more than yesterday. The number in intensive care has declined by 1, while 4 people require help breathing. And this is what that looks like. This is inside St Vincent's intensive care unit, as staff care for patients battling the disease. In other hospitals, 10 News First has been made aware of very different heartbreaking scenes. We've spoken with parents separated during childbirth because of lockdown restrictions. One mother was left in agony on a hospital floor for 10 minutes after a reaction to drugs during a 12-hour induction.
But I was alone, completely alone, and with no support. So I asked them to call my husband, and they said that they couldn't.
He was only allowed into the hospital for the 9-hour labour, and despite complications for both mum and bub, he couldn't stay.
Once that was over, we were wheeled up to the ward, and he was told that he needed to leave.
Another father in Sydney's West says he wasn't able to stay with his wife after an urgent caesarean.
And I was allowed to be there for the C-section and just for another hour after while she recovered, and then I was asked to leave.
Despite having an exemption for the birthing unit, he wasn't allowed back in. After the birth, you only got to see her again when she came home 2 days later?
Correct, yeah, exactly, yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Every nurse that we spoke to has encouraged us to speak out, that they're horrified by it.
Birth photographer Sarah Fowler is now leading a campaign to have at least one support person allowed the entire time.
It is a World Health Organization recommendation that women and birthing people are allowed to have a chosen companion with them during the entirety of their labour and birth.
Asked if there is overarching advice for hospitals, the Chief Health Officer says the risk is decided locally.
Those local clinicians understand the risks in their communities, and each case is taken on its merits. But can I acknowledge the impact that has on people?
Well, Lachlan joins me now. And Lachlan, there is a developing situation at one of our busiest hospitals in the southwest.
Yes, Sandra, sadly very serious one too. We understand a woman who was booked in for a caesarean yesterday at Liverpool Hospital has since tested positive to COVID after spending all day there and potentially visiting several areas inside the facility. We understand operating theatres have had to be closed at the hospital, and the process is now underway of determining the level of exposure to the health staff who work there. Now, we have contacted the South Western Sydney Local Health District and asked them for more details about this situation. They were trying to get a statement to us before 5 o'clock. Sadly, it didn't get here, but Sandra will have an update as soon as we get that.
All right, thank you, Lachlan.